Now that we have re-established that Meghan Markle was a recruit under the Queen, and was recruited for Megxit to globalise the monarchy alongside the global restructure of its empire, of the British or the Holy Roman Anglo-Saxon empire, that is the British Empire, and that has never left, and never fallen. That, and which was restructured into the Commonwealth and Constitutional Federation, and the supposed death of feudalism and imperialism and colonialism, but we just merged into a banking economic colonialism with debt, and interest rates and exchange rates and stock markets and everything else. Now that we've reestablished that, I'm finally ready to talk about the main stuff that I uncovered initially when I looked into Meghan Markle and trying to find out what really went on with her PR build in Canada, because she didn't live there, but she was built there. Her whole creation was built there by a whole clique of very wealthy and powerful people. Some weren't so powerful, they just joined the bandwagon and were thirsty and ambitious and wanted to get as much fame and fortune as possible, or were a part of, those sorts of families that would all vacate together on the same island, on the same lake in Canada, which they do, kind of have the same pier overlooking the lake. They all seem to come together there, and they either come together there, they come together at Soho, Toronto, and it was a complete creation of Meghan Markle, and every single person that helped create Meghan Markle were heavily, heavily rewarded. And some make sense as to their reason why they were involved and they could help create her, and others don't necessarily. They were kind of like brought in because of their affiliation with Meghan Markle, like Jake Rosenberg. And I'm going to go through that with you today. There are more overt kind of knighthoods and honours, like Jason North, who went through the whole lie and fabrication narrative of the bullying and harassment, and did what he was instructed to do, and then was on 60 Minutes Australia, like the enablement and the PR strategy from the palace. Again, it just shows you how much they control all media and my nation and all of our nations. It's just insane. Anyway, so Jason North was, received that medal. There was also Dave Lansdowne or Dave Langdown, the guy who is Met Security with the fake Shell security company in America that's British. That's connected to the Home Office and to Barbara Cahan, who died in 2009, registered that company. So insane. That security firm, that Shell security company, that is to hide the fact that Dave still is Met Police, and still is Met Security in the specialty of royal security and intelligence. He was awarded just before he fake retired and worked for Harry and Meghan in Canada, which they never really were there when they moved over there, supposedly. But they never really are married, and never really had a family. So Megxit's fake. Megxit's just a geopolitical strategy of the monarchy, and it's a whole PR narrative. And so all of it is just a complete and utter orchestration, but it's been enabled and supported by every government under the monarchy and under the empire. And that's how you can make sense as to why I've gone down this path of finding out about the empire and about the monarchy's role, especially after the political interference of Archwell, an American charity in Australian Parliament. That was just so insane. And the fact that that was allowed, and then on top of it, no other YouTube accounts. This was before the censorship complex. This was before anyone really tried to, with proof, show that Harry, other than Harry enjoying some leak of a J6 coup, there wasn't really any proof of political interference. And I gave that to the YouTube community and nothing was shown or done about it. And it was completely hidden. And there you go. So it's been a real journey to be here and to finally discuss this stuff with you. Believe it or not, it's been difficult to just give out everything. I've also had to wait because a lot of YouTube accounts try to claim that they know more than me, or that they have us are in the same room as me, are at the same level as me. Especially, believe it or not, our recollections may vary, and the Royal Grift. And what they do is they pretend to research things and just give political agenda, or their own, whatever agenda they're told to portray as real, as factual, and as researched. And then they create whatever research to support those claims. And sometimes they just use my claims and don't provide the research because they can't. And what they then do is steer the public to believe it's a part of the Markle family or a part of this censorship complex that's a complete and utter bullshit political propaganda piece. So I've waited for the right time to talk about this stuff because it was also the stuff that I held very close to me, because it was really actually the crux of the reason as to why I found out that the royal family were involved from the very get-go, long before. Yeah, that was how I knew. And I wanted an investigation. I contacted all the investigation agencies you could imagine around the world. I even contacted, journalists, directors, that French, that envoyer. I contacted them, and it was just amazing how, I went from this really naive person to understanding that this is what people wanted was the truth. And then I found out very, very quickly that even like all investigation agencies, every bit of journalism protects this narrative, and it's insane. Like not even that pedophile Jimmy Savile was so protected as to this narrative. And I think you've got to realize like the importance and the impact and the global impact that this has had, but also the kind of aiding and abetting and the corruption that I've had to experience and endure, like throughout every aspect and facet of this whole journey of finding out the truth. So, and I really was inspired by the comment of Indiana Jones, saying it's no coincidence Netflix, Sarandos, and Disney receive royal honours as much as Jason North, as much as Dave Langdown or whatever, as much as Bill Gates, as much as Jacinda Ardern, as much as anything to do with Beckham. These are all just puppets. Now I've got Robert Irwin, they're trying to, and you've got Kate Blanchett. They've got Aussies trying to, and it's all like, these are all elitists. This is all a wealthy, powerful clique, and even the same with Nuts PR build in Canada. And I want to just quickly go down that pathway with you, to kind of give you some insight as to how I found out things. So I've already discussed with you that Trevor and Corey are a part of the PR orchestration. It was to hide the true relationship that Meghan was obviously experiencing, and also the real identity of Meghan Markle. I've already gone through exposing all of her education as false. I've gone through almost every bit of the documentary, or the documentaries about her and her PR build. But in Canada, as especially that she wasn't living there, it was really interesting to understand just what was actually, what was actually going on behind the scenes of the creation. There are a lot of wealthy people involved. Radio stations like, is it the Hudson Bay or the Bay? They were deeply involved. There were politicians involved, like Seamus, I've forgotten his last name. He was involved. There were a lot of wealthy couples involved, all regarding the creation and getting even Corey to come in. He came in around January 2000. Was it 2013 or 2014? No, it was before she went to the polo match of Harry's, under exclusive royal invite. This is Meghan I'm talking about, in America, in Greenwich, now that I know how to pronounce it. So it was that year, I'm pretty sure of it. They were set up to discuss building this kind of PR construct and this relationship of Corey and Meghan. And, Trevor was, from what I've seen, the divorce was false. So we don't have the marriage record. So I believe that whole thing is a PR construct as well. And I've already gone through Suits in 2011 being a setup and a staging. So everything that we know of Meghan Markle is created, including her relationships, to hide the true identity before Meghan was a recruit of Buckingham Palace. And they're able to do that because they control all resources. They control the Canadian government. They control the elitists within Canada, and intelligence and everything there is. So it's just an easy way of doing it. And they tried to make it covert by putting her in a Commonwealth nation, and also making it relevant, because the reason why she was recruited was to play a role in the Commonwealth, believe it or not, which might be tied to when the Commonwealth is restructured with this Agenda 2030, which is definitely on the cards now that they're going to restructure the EU and or OECD and the Commonwealth, which were really the two main controls, along with the UN. But I mean, that could still be relevant anyway. And there were a lot of people, but mostly a lot of there was a large family involved, called the Sorbara family. Greg Sorbara is a real estate mogul, with his brothers, before the lawsuit, but he's also I think a criminally charged Ontario finance minister of the Ontario government, which is the same government that tried to sell the Bilderberg Group the hydro plant for the North American Union Agreement, to create the Grand Canal, and transfer Canada's water supply to Mexico and US, with the implementation of the guy, what's his name, Mulroney. So his son is also a part of the Meghan Markle narrative. Do you see how it's just this one big circle not one big circle, one small circle of elites and political players and very wealthy and and PR agencies and so forth. Corey was able to get a food franchise out of that, out of whatever he portrayed himself to be, and he also hid his relationship with Martina Sorbara, Greg Sorbara's daughter. But most of the PR play was actually done with the Sorbara family, and also Martina's maternal side. You can definitely look into the visits to Windsor, to the UK by Corey and by the Sorbaras, and their extended family around 2014. And actually there was repeat visits by the Sorbara family over to the UK. They literally, physically, aesthetically, if you look into all of Meghan Markle's Instagram photos back in the day, the Sorbara family housed both Harry and Meghan. You know those photos of them near the creek with the dogs, with Guy, with the pebbles and the water? That's at the Sorbara estate, at their little holiday vacay area. That they used to have Marcus Anderson join with Meghan and Martina. All the while, Martina is not meant to know Corey Vitiello at all. You should definitely look into the age of their child. That timeline seems to be questionable. During 2014-ish, I think they all got a nice piece of land in Prince Edward County. They now have a farm and a hotel. The Jewish brother-in-law of Martina and her twin brother now run this hotel and kind of farm. They were awarded quite heavily with their involvement. No doubt. I do not believe that they were awarded independently from, that's my opinion, from this whole debacle and this whole orchestration, because it was during that time. They try to do it earlier so then it doesn't look like it's affiliated, but it definitely is not so coincidental, especially with the powers of King Charles and the Queen, and the need for Meghan Markle to be created. They also had people like Moshe Lundstrom, who's now was awarded a nice career in New York as a fashion, whatever the fuck she is. Her husband is Aidan Butler. He's now a horse trainer, but really high up there, has his own kind of like horse training company, bedding company. I mean, they helped create her. Meghan was at their wedding in, is it Iceland or Finland? Iceland, I guess. In the new year of 2016. Wait, no, 2015. 2015, I think. Either way, anyway, they helped. Aidan Butler is best friends with Corey. Aidan Butler is British. He, I think, is it Jodie? There's like a model who also is in the Polo Elite with Nacho, and so was already in this whole clique. He married her previously, and he's a part of some sort of whatever the fuck he is, a supposed entrepreneur. Whatever. But they were all a part of creating Meghan Markle, and everyone was heavily rewarded with careers, with wealth, with land, with business franchises. But there's one that is really interesting in particular, and that also then proves with the pictures, and I can show you them. I just wanted to kind of just generally talk about this, and I wanted to get it out there, that the pictures of Harry and Meghan with Guy, his initial name was Balky, but she hid that name, and she hid Puller's name as well, Oz. Or they hid it, PR hid it, whatever that was. Those photos literally implicate this entire orchestration and the royal family, because the Sabaras, connected to Corey Vitiello, they did the feed dinner with Stanley Tucci who is now an ambassador or representative for the royal family for sustainable food or some shit. They're all interconnected. They all have reaped rewards. That actually shows you undeniable proof, other than Meghan Markle being a recruit, that they were involved, and Harry was actually directly involved, whichever Harry it was, or is involved in the creation of Meghan Markle prior to her launch in 2016. So that's a lot to take in. And that was why I wanted an investigation. I wanted an investigation into the corruption, especially in Canada, and the finances of these families. I didn't want to publish it because I didn't want to expose it enough where they would hide the finances into foreign tax havens and stuff like that. But now, knowing just how protected everyone and everything is, and that I would never get to the truth, and they've already more than likely hidden that wealth, or hidden what their rewards are, or the source of their income, or the source of their rewards, and will, be forever protected. It's not something that I'm particularly concerned with anymore. And I wanted to get this out as a first account to reveal this, because I didn't want any other, well, you're not going to get any other YouTuber, are you, presenting this information? You're not, because that's not what they're here to do. So let's get to Jake Rosenberg. Now, I'm just going to go through this really briefly, but there are pictures with Meghan Markle and the creation of Meghan Markle throughout the years, especially around 2013, 2014, her travels, the photos of her room and how it was set up. There was a lot of symbolism, and she was telling stories. And initially I thought it was a devotion to Harry, but then I actually looked and researched Jake Rosenberg's Instagram account, and they would use the same candles, the exact same candles. He was basically an object photographer for the Couverture, which is the magazine that was created, the business that was created to kind of raise him up to be where he is today. Alongside, in alignment with Meghan's PR creation back in 2011. And I'm going to go through that with you now. But he was really an object photographer, and this sounds pathetic because it is. The Couverture magazine was actually created to take photos of objects, of things, like going into a celebrity's house, or someone that's considered by pop culture standards important, and taking photos of their stuff. And that's what Jake Rosenberg did, is he took photos of stuff, and he did it in an order and in a kind of artistic way, enough that it looked some stylized. So Meghan Markle had like the creation of food and pretending to cook with Corey Vitiello, and then she had these stylized kind of like home looks, but the same exact style as Jake Rosenberg. Now this was before, roughly around, he met Meghan Markle and photographed her around 2013 supposedly, right? But that was while he had the business, the Couverture. Now, the Couverture didn't actually exist. It was created by a coach by the name of Andrew Black, a business coach. That he's not meant to have coached them until roughly 2013, but I beg to differ. When he created his actual coaching business, which is basically investing, providing the funding, the capital for early startups, and then raising them to a point where they have a clear exit strategy that the rate of return is a lot higher than his initial investment. And so he gets a really good rate of return, as do other investors who invest. And he actually, encourages like big names and big people to invest in a company that he's created. Now, the reason why I believe that he, in my opinion, I believe that he created the coverture is because they blur the lines with the story of that creation. And Jake's whole story of his whole how he came to be was literally, he comes from a wealthy Jewish family in Toronto, Canada. His father is a real estate mogul. He's wealthy. He's wealthy enough to be in that clique and to know people, but not elitist, I would say. And he supposedly worked in a retail store, and he really wanted to he had some kind of artistic passion of wanting to photograph things for, I think like Patagonia or something like that, or certain brands, right? He wanted to kind of create these looks or this stylized theme of these brands. And so supposedly he emailed a photographer a well-known photographer in Toronto, I think it was, and he took him on and taught him a few tricks and skills. And then he just coincidentally became a photographer and created, out of a passion project, created the curvature, which I just strongly doubt with the involvement of Andrew Black. And Andrew Black, coincidentally, is indirectly affiliated with the royal family and the monarchy because he is the co-founder of Virgin Canada with Richard Branson, who's deeply, deeply involved in World Economic Forum and deeply involved with Jeremy Hymans, who is the guy who created Purpose and all of those fake shell Agenda 2030 socialist movement organizations to change and influence policy, and created the Shell research agency, Reset Australia, which then worked with his organization Purpose and was paid with Purpose was paid from Archwell to create a research report based on our Australian censorship or digital policy. And so they're all interrelated, right? And Andrew Black just somehow miraculously around that time leaves Virgin Canada, or I think it's Bell, which was merged and acquired by Virgin Canada, but he's also responsible for co-founding Virgin Canada. Whatever. Anyway, he supposedly left that company to start coaching because he got advice from Richard Branson to coach companies, certain companies like the Coverture, and to help create Jake Rosenberg's career out of nothing. At that time, I think Jake said that he started going to runways and photographing stuff, just doing some projects. I mean, you'd have to become well known and be very skilled to establish yourself just willy-nilly, because you went to a photographer and learned some tricks. Anyway, so he creates with Erin Kleinberg and Stephanie Mark, I can't remember. Supposedly they created Coverture with Andrew Black and got the funding from Andrew Black. They then, within 14 months of existing, got $500K USD investment, including from Drake. Drake is an investor for the coverture. And then miraculously in 2015, so by this time, Jake is the photographer responsible for the magazine's photography of objects and the covers of these people that he's, going to write about and just blow smoke up their asshole, and talk about how great they are and just how cool they are with their little objects and stuff and sentimental things, just useless information. And Jake, by 2015, starts to become a photographer for like portraiture of cover magazines outside of the coverture. Now, I just want to say and reiterate again, Andrew Black wouldn't have coached and set up the coverture without an exit strategy. So around 2016, I've looked at the records. I can't think of the exact wording to say, but the company, due to, I think, not keeping up with its records, was ready to be, God, I can't think of the word starting with D. It was like meant to be not liquidified, but it was meant to be pretty much cancelled, deregistered. Let's just say that, deregistered by the Ontario registration with their license. They weren't keeping up. 2016 already, they weren't really keeping up with these statements. So it just feels to me like this company was just a setup for Jake Rosenberg to become what he has become. Photographed Meghan Markle 2013 after the 2011 coverture creation with Andrew Black, Richard Branson, and then, supposedly meets Meghan Markle, photographs her. By the way, he doesn't do this for any other person. His whole Instagram account, he just kind of like momentarily does his little like adoration and dedication to Meghan Markle and that first photography session with her, and does the photos and just says, oh, Meghan Markle, da da da, and just does this and that. And it was just weird. And there's so many times where, he was catching up with her, but her whole room was kind of like set up the same as what he does. And there was a lot of symbolism used to kind of show that they were in a covert hiding relationship pretty much the whole duration up until 2016, and possibly still, because Jake Rosenberg has been the one to photograph every single project there is that's been launched. The cooking show, all of those magazine covers, her Instagram cover, everything is by Jake Rosenberg. And that bracelet she wears, his now partner wears as well. Very, very, very interesting stuff. And in 2015, he is still, a founder of Coverture, a co-founder, and supposedly, and he then gets Oprah. Oprah invites him to do the Oprah magazine cover for her for Thanksgiving in 2015, and he then becomes a kind of like a freelance photographer for covers and portraiture, right? This guy who's photographing objects and just did a passion project supposedly by creating the Coverture magazine in Canada. A guy from Canada, from Toronto, then starts photographing Oprah in 2015, and knowing Oprah's connection and Gayle King's connection to Meghan by 2013 at the Royal Polo Centre Ball. That was photographed by Chris Jackson, the royal photographer, and then hidden from plain sight. Meghan was not on that runway, was not on that red carpet, but she was in that crowd, that exclusive invitation list. So he then becomes now a renowned photographer, and the people he photographs, Gwyneth Paltrow, Reese Witherspoon, David Beckham, all the Formula One drivers. I mean, he's on the top of his game, and he is now a millionaire. The 2016, basically no one's really taking care of business with the coverture. In 2015-ish or 2016-ish, they wrote a book, which is also part of the strategy by Andrew Black's business. And they're just building this supposed company up, and then they sell it. They sell it, I think, in 2024, I think, or was it 2019? I think they sold it in 2019. I can't remember which one was actually published and which one was real. And then now Jake Rosenberg is an elitist, going to polo cups with none other than Meghan Markle's best friend, Abigail Spencer. I always forget her name because she's forgettable. And Nacho. And there's just this constant connection with Meghan Markle and his whole creation and reward for whatever he was a part of in the build of Meghan Markle, which I'm presuming is the relationship he has with her and the real Meghan Markle, the real identity of Meghan Markle, is exactly his reward. So that's another one to look into. So I'm just going to show you here. This is Andrew Black. He financed several from investors in 2010. Has financed several consumer brand startups in Canada and the United States, some with no tech angle. The thing is, funding was already done in 2012 for Couverture. Delivers, an online one makes power drinks, an online fashion content company. It's interesting who it was sold to as well. I was talking about his background, Lego, Bell Canada, that was it, Virgin Mobile. This is Chris Nichols was that photographer that helped him. But I wanted to shoot for companies like North Face and Patagonia. This is Jake. Mix my love for the backcountry with work, which is hilarious because there's no backcountry in what he did for the Couverture. It's completely metropolitan and it's within houses and you're photographing objects. Anyway, yeah. It's just not believable. Here's Jake. My first photo shoot cover. Of course. I mean, the way he launched is incredible. He's like, he was at the launch for Samsung 837 and was a part of the panel. I mean, it's insane. It's insane how enabled this guy is. Showing his allegiance to the higher order that gave him everything he's probably ever wanted. This is the photography. I mean, Meghan's also done the same symbolism. And this is what I'm talking about here. This is a photo of Jake's. This is 2015. So, while Meghan's supposedly with Corey Vitiello, Santal 26 is one of the main candles she always puts up. So the piling of the books, Meghan Markle did that a lot. Jake, someone's thirsty. When was this? This looks like 2014, maybe 2015. And this is Meghan Markle's Instagram post. Well, one of. There's Santal 26 there. And there's more. There's just more I can go into and explain. This is him at the wedding in UK. Oh, God, I can't. I mean, why he was involved in that is just insane. And this is a guy who supposedly created the TIG, which we know didn't happen. He definitely didn't create the TIG, but he was the fall guy or the patsy for it, as much as that other guy who pretends to own the article company that created the website of Meghan Markle for the TIG and for Sussex Royal also pretends that he created the websites. I've already gone through in a different video that that's a shell company and that he has many direct affiliations with Meghan Markle's Archewell board. These are the current photographs. I'm telling you everything. Everything. Oh, and there he is. Like, you really wonder, don't you? Funny how a WEF Richard Branson affiliate created the coverture, which then fake created the TIG. You can have everything you ever dreamed of when you participate in this royal grift, didn't you know? This is the royal grift. This is how big it was when I realized just how bad and how big it was, that it needed an investigation across countries, but especially in Canada. For the PR build, I looked into every single person that built up, that helped build Meghan Markle, that then became reporters at the wedding, that then became presenters, that then got wonderful promotions like Omid Scobie, who helped initially with the Miami chit chat with Harry, and him splitting from Cressida Bonus. All of these people that helped with this orchestration were heavily promoted, and their lives now secured with wealth and a very successful career. And believe you me, that wasn't purely based on hard work, because it all seemed to happen straight after. Fancy that, hey? Fancy how big this crazy orchestration is and how many people are involved. And I'm just talking about a small time frame within Canada. Mulroney, I mean, he's just a joke. I mean, both Mulroneys, the father and the son, just complete shills for the royal family and for imperial policy and moving towards imperial restructure, even back in the 80s and the 90s for his father. So all these people are involved, were celebrated, have had wonderful careers since, and are very, very wealthy. You can look each of them up and see for yourself, and wonder how they got there. But you can also look back and look at their little visits to the UK within this time frame as well, and the orchestration of Meghan Markle. And some of them actually caught up with Meghan Markle while they were there. So very, very interesting stuff, and something that I am afraid of telling because of the fear for my own safety, but something that needs to be said and that needs to be disclosed, before I'm censored any further than what I have been. Thanks, guys.